sorry, what was that?
Am I hearing you right? Not for us, no.
My name is Kinsey Hyatt. I'm an account executive here at CU Northwest. I am going to go ahead and mute everyone's phone lines. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature that's available through GoToMeeting. I will stop periodically and answer any questions that you may have regarding our miscellaneous member account forms. Okay. With the investments you've made in laser printers and the trends toward requiring member service staff to get involved in data collecting for cross-selling, household databases, loan interviews, and miscellaneous marketing, your credit union needs a powerful and flexible member service print function. Originally designed for credit union design TIS disclosures, the CU-based miscellaneous member account forms feature is a powerful and flexible member service feature. It only takes a little imagination to visualize credit union designed signature forms or marketing forms tied to specific products. While creating these forms, CU-based gives you some flexibility to edit and change the presentation of the forms, such as using non-proportionate versus proportionate font. Forms can be configured to allow a CSR to edit the text of the form when it's printed so that non-CU-based information can be included in the printed forms. Steps for setting up the forms. Start by deciding on the basic information you want on the printed form, the paragraphs, heading, and specific CU-based database information. Create as many text paragraphs as needed for the various forms. Create the form layout, and link the form names to actual share or certificate products if forms should be printed when a new account is created. Now you're ready. If linked to a CU product, forms will automatically print when the new accounts are created. Blank forms can also be printed at any time. Okay. Our overview for this class today, we're going to configure as many forms, or we're going to talk about configuring as many forms as you like, a different TIS for each product, a fee schedule, signature cards, and any other type of form you need. We're going to talk about each form can be, each form can contain up to 30 different paragraphs of 12 lines each. Each paragraph can have an optional heading line. If necessary, forms can be multiple pages and, depending on your laser printer, can be automatically duplexed. Many different forms can share the same generic paragraphs, and a single change to the paragraph that will automatically affect all of the forms that use that paragraph. The system will automatically print the current date at the bottom of the printed forms on the day it is printed. And that's for your records and for the members' records if you ever need to review those again. To get started, go to MNCNFA Option 5, Configure Miscellaneous Member Account Forms. This is the starting point for all of the steps necessary to configure a form. From this screen, you can create or modify the form layout, design, as well as create a generic text paragraph. We'll take a look at paragraphs first. To create a new paragraph or edit an existing paragraph, use F9 or Edit Paragraphs. To edit an existing paragraph, type in the paragraph ID or search by entering the first few characters into the Jump to Paragraph box, or enter a word or words that are contained in the description to move to a description containing that word or words. To create a new paragraph, enter a unique ID. In a way, it's rather like a grab bag of paragraphs from which you can pick and choose in any order when laying out your form. So you'll see on this screen here we have several paragraphs already set up. Even if you're not currently using the miscellaneous member account forms, there are generic paragraphs that are already out there for you. So if you're going in there for the first time and you see a lot of paragraphs, during conversion we do bring over several of them that can be modified to use in your credit union and to fit your credit union's policy and procedure. Okay, for example, if you have a fees and charges paragraph that you added to the bottom of all your TIS disclosures, you just configure the paragraph once and then include it when laying out the design of your TIS forms. If you need to change a fee, just change it once, and it would be changed in every form the fee paragraph was included in. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The second screen is used to set up and edit paragraph text itself. The fields at the top of the screen contain printing and formatting features. We've got Edit Upon Printing, where you can check it if you want to allow editing of the paragraph from a pop-up window when the form is printed. This is to include, maybe you want to put their name on the form in a specific line, if you would like to include any specific text for that member, or anything that is not configured in CU-Base that you would also like to include in a paragraph. You can edit the paragraph when printing, and then your MSR or teller or whoever's printing the form can then edit the paragraph before the form is printed. Next, we have font type. Choose non-proportionate if you would like each letter in the paragraph to be the same width, or choose proportionate where some letters are wider than others. For example, a W is wider than an I. Since the length of each line will vary depending on the text, you may need to stop typing before the end of the line in order for the margins to look right on the printed form. This will take some experimenting. Blank lines after. So you can see we've got a 0, 1, 2, and 3. This allows you to remove the spacing between paragraphs completely or add some new spacing options. 0 means no spacing, 1 means tightened spacing, and 2 is standard spacing. We have our short description. This defines what the paragraph represents. And then we have our heading, which is optional. If a heading should print above the paragraph, enter it here. If you are splitting the text from a particular paragraph between two paragraphs, you would only enter the header on the first one. So if you're creating several paragraphs, you don't need to, that all need to be linked together, you don't have to put a heading. However, if you have different sections of your TIS form, you can add that additional heading there. So you could put your fees and disclosure, you can put any additional information, so you can have those bold headings in between your paragraphs if you would like. Following these fields, there are a total of 90 lines for entering paragraph text. Every 2 lines on the screen make up 1 full line of print on the final form. For example, notice that on the first line, the word provision, see, we've got PRO and then vision, is split between 2 lines. On the printed form, these 2 lines will be put back together as one long line of text. And then, so this would be our line 1 that we have here in this line, and then line 2 would start with the other than the certifications required. Okay. You also have the option of reordering the lines in your form. You just simply change the line number in front, so over here, of the double line entry and press enter. The lines will reorder according to the line number. If blank spaces are needed before text, do not add text in the blank lines. CU-Base will allow you to leave a maximum of 3 blank lines. If more blank lines are needed, consider creating a new paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second. Okay. All right. There we go. To copy text from an existing paragraph, use F10 Copy Paragraph Text. Enter the paragraph ID to copy from and press enter. Text will be copied to the current new paragraph, and you can then modify it as needed, which will not change the original paragraph. When done, use enter to save changes. We have many credit unions that use that feature, especially when they're creating their TIS forms. If you want to copy the first line and maybe just change the product that's in that paragraph, they just copy the same paragraph to several new paragraphs and then edit each one of those products in that first paragraph for their TIS forms. You also have the option to delete an existing paragraph. So you'll highlight and select that paragraph from that first screen. You'll come to this screen and then you can choose to delete that paragraph. Okay. As you go into that screen, if you see a lot of those items or those paragraphs that you know that you will never use, those ones that we have out there from your conversion, you can go through and clean that up at any time and delete those items that you know that your credit union will not be using. After you have your paragraphs created or edited, you will configure the layout of the form. You have the option to change an existing form, delete an existing form, or add a new form. So you can highlight and choose delete, highlight and choose change, or you can choose to add a new form. When adding a new form, you will need to name it first. So when you choose add, this box right here will pop up. Okay. When adding a new form or changing an existing one, this is the next screen you will see. You will need a description describing the form use, which is in line 1 here, a form title. This will print at the top of the form. Address format. This will specify whether this form should include the member's name and address positioned for the window of a standard double window envelope. For forms such as TIS disclosures, fee disclosures, you may not wish to use envelope format so that you will have as much space as possible on the page for the paragraphs themselves. The other option from the drop-down box is print CU name address at top left margin, no member address. Okay. Check the box to include website address on form if desired. If it will use the CU website address configured on the chart of accounts. If you have any question about where that is, feel free to contact Client Services. We'd be happy to go over and verify your credit union's email address with you. Okay. Finally, place a check mark to choose from the 4 available layout screens that will be needed to design the form. You can choose as many as needed, and the screens will appear in order, one after the other, until all have been filled in. The layout screens are member information, share CD account detail, loan account detail, and paragraph sequence. We will check all 4 boxes in order to walk through each screen. Okay. First, we're going to start with our member information. The first option is member information. Choose this option if you wish to include a member's information section at the top of the form containing name, address, and joint owner information. This information can be included on TIS disclosures, but is primarily used for generic membership forms or marketing documents that are not tied to a specific account type. Place a check mark in front of any item that you wish to include on the printed form. Then, enter a sequential line number to indicate the order in which the item should be listed. So many times you have account number, name, address. Okay. On the printed forms, member and joint owner names will have the appropriate labels according to the membership designation, such as trust, company, or custodian. If you want to include the DBA name, the label will not be included. Okay. So that's this one right here. If you do want to include it, it will not say DBA. Since the DBA name field might be used for a trust name on some of your accounts, there will be no field label printed if you elect to include the DBA name field in the configuration. The recommended method is to place it immediately below the line on which member name will appear, so that the member and the DBA name would appear together like this. So member name and then your trust or your DBA name. Okay. The second option is Share CD Account Detail. Choose this option to include specific account information on the printed forms. This screen is only used when the form relates to either a savings, checking, or certificate account. Some of the information is member-specific, while other items are taken from your credit union system configuration settings. You can also add up to 3 of your own field labels, which would include static information. For example, you could enter minimum amount to open with a static amount filled in. Just put a check mark in front of that item you want to include, then choose the column where the text should print, either the left or the right, then enter a line number to indicate the order in which the item should be listed. You can see here on this, since the joint owner names no longer have a sequence number, this will be the first and second joint owners in the file when the print on correspondence flag turned on. And then it's ordered by Social Security number. So if you have that on any of your accounts to print, in the case of a business or a trust where you have multiple, this will print the first and second in SSN order. If the box is checked to display the tiered rate structure, this is the layout that will be used to show the configured tiered rates. So you can see Tier 1 is your base, Tier 2, Tier 3. You may also choose to explain plateau or non-plateau rates within a configured text paragraph, such as rates are according to the tiered rate structure outlined above. The stated rate will be paid on the entire balance, or for non-plateau, the stated rate will be paid on the portion of the balance that will fall within the tier balances. So, and I believe that those paragraphs are out there for you guys to take a look at if that's something that you're interested in including on your TIS forms or any of your forms. Next, we have loan account details. This is the first of 2 screens used if you wish to include specific account information on the form. This screen is only used when the form relates to either a loan or line of credit account. Some of the information is member-specific, while other items are taken from your credit union's configurations, much as the share certificate. Place a check mark in front of any item you wish to include. Choose the column left or right, then enter a sequential line number to indicate the order in which the item should be listed. Okay. So many times on your loan accounts, you would choose account, current rate, current balance, payment amount. Okay. So you include those items on your members' loan forms. Excuse me. This is the second screen for loan details. As on the Share and Certificate Details screen, you can add up to 3 of your own field labels, which would include static information. You may want to include information about the index used. Any static information will have to be maintained by the credit union if any of the information changes. The information on the form for payoff, payoff M, are for the payoff statements. So one is for your consumer loans and one is for your mortgages, which we will touch and we'll touch on those later. The fourth option is our paragraph sequence. So you can see that over here on the right-hand side. This is the screen used to designate which paragraphs will print on the form and in which order. Up to 90 paragraphs can be included on the form. You will type in the sequence number and the paragraph ID to see the existing paragraphs. And I do have several credit unions that have very large membership forms that are printed when the account is open I have one credit union that has 68 paragraphs in their membership form. So 90 is not really that unreasonable when you go to configure some of your larger forms. Okay. So you can use up to the 90 paragraphs, sequence number, and then you can see the existing paragraphs. You can use the F12 display paragraph ID if you do not remember the paragraph ID that you created, and you can go through and select those from this screen here. After entering sequence and paragraph ID, press enter and then enter again to save. If a paragraph ID is entered that does not yet exist, the description unknown will appear until the paragraph has been created. So you can see this last item here, it says unknown. If you're working on a new form and you have an existing form that has a similar layout, you can use the option F10 to bring in all the layout parameters from that form into the current one, including member and account detail fields and paragraph order. After the layout is copied, you can then make changes to the new form without affecting the other form. Okay. So you see that copy layout form that pops up here when we choose this option over here on the left. On this screen, you will just enter the form name to copy from and press enter. If you have already set up any parameters for this form, they will be overwritten when you use the copy function. It will not append to an existing document. Please keep in mind that this is the from. We've had it happen before where you copy accidentally from your new form to an existing form and it changes the layout on your existing form. So when you put that in there, just make sure it's the one that you want to copy from. 32. Let's see. Another option you have is to print a sample form using the F14 listed here function key. This is especially helpful if you would like to see how the layout on your new form is shaping up. You can see this window, which will allow you to select a printer, tray, and number of copies. If the form includes editable paragraphs, a screen will pop up allowing you to adjust the text. Okay. So you can see here, this will be your local printer, the drawer that it's going to print to, the number of copies. So if you're printing a copy for yourself and for a member, these screens are very similar. You can change that to 2 copies if you want a copy and the member would like a copy as well. Okay. At this point, if the form is not yet linked to a product, no product-specific information such as rates and terms or member-specific data such as names and addresses will appear. But the headings and the labels will be there so you can verify placement and spacing. Next, we'll take a look at linking forms to credit union products from MNC&FA number 5. You will use the option F8 to link forms to products. So that's listed right here. Once you choose that option, you will then just need to enter your corporate ID. So your corporate ID should be 01. We currently don't have any multi-corps at CU Northwest, so your corp should be 01, and then press enter. And then this will populate as seen below here. This screen is used to link form layouts directly to a credit union share or certificate product for forms that are designed specifically for new accounts. If the form contains account-related details such as rates, terms, account numbers, and so on, the link tells the system from which product those details should be pulled. Also, when new accounts are created, or blank forms printed, the system uses this link to determine which form should be generated for each product. Just a side note, it isn't possible to link a form to a loan account due to the additional complexity in approving and opening a loan account. So if you're looking at using these, you could print forms after the loan was created, but you cannot actually link that to the loan product. So after entering a corporate ID and pressing enter on the screen, you will see the list of the configured dividend applications and CD types. You will then use the columns to the right, so anything in here that's blue, to link up to 20 different forms for each product. When a new account of that type is opened, all of the linked forms will print automatically. So in this scenario, if a staff member opened the 3-year CD for a member, the forms test, test 1, and test, oh, let me back up one. So let's see, a 6-month CD, let's go to that one. If a staff member opened a 6-month CD for this member, the test would automatically print when the account was opened. The linked forms are also used when printing blank forms. We'll take a look at this next. But if you choose to print a blank form by selecting the dividend application or CD type, all forms linked to that type would print. When you are done linking forms, press enter to save all changes, and then F3 to back up or to return to the previous screen. Okay, so you can use that backup arrow or F3, and then you hit enter to save any of those changes. Okay. And you list them across the right here. So this 6-month CD, if I had several, I could include them across here. If you have any forms that are specifically for a membership opening, you would want to link those to your base share account or your 000, and then you could print those. So if you have any new account open forms, membership cards, all of those can be done if you link them to the base share or SH, dividend application type. Okay. Printing member account forms. They can be printed from the following locations: MNServe number 10 for your member service, MNCOLL number 20 for your collections team, MNPRTC number 4, that's usually used by management, that is your member communication screen, and then phone operator inquiry, F14, name address, and then F24. Okay. The first screen that appears lets you print forms, so after you go to any of those options, the first screen that appears lets you print forms that have been linked to share or certificate products. You can enter a member number and suffix if the form should include specific member account details, or just leave those fields blank if you want to print a generic form using only information from the product configuration and not from the member's account. To print all the forms that normally print when a new account is opened, enter the number of copies for each product needed and hit enter to begin. So 1 of these, 2 of these, however many you would like. Okay? That's the number of copies. For each form that is linked to this product, this window will appear to let you choose a printer and paper tray or change the number of copies. If necessary, you can insert special paper into the designated drawer before pressing enter. Each form will appear in the window one after the other until all linked forms have been printed. If the form is configured with editable paragraphs, a pop-up screen will appear allowing you to make changes to the printed form. If you don't want to print all of the forms that are linked to a product or need to print a form that is not linked to any product, such as VOD, use F10 Other Forms. I'm sorry, let me back up. So you can use this Other Forms button right here. This window shows all of the form layouts that have been configured. Just enter the number of copies for each and press enter. So we've got our dormancy notice, fee schedules, application for membership. You can put all of those forms in here. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. There's your printer, so you can choose what printer, what drawer, and the number of copies that you would like. If an editable form pops up, check the boxes or enter whatever text is needed and then press enter to print. So if you would like to, you could have this pop up, and then in here you can mark any additional items. So if you need to put an X here or an X here, you can include that as well. Okay. So as we had seen back in the beginning, the text of the forms can be configured to allow it to edit when the forms are printed. Could be you just need to check a box if it applies to that member and you want to include on the form. Instead of having to print the form and then write on it, the changes are simply added as part of the printed form. So once you choose a printer and the form you've chosen is editable, the editable screen will pop up. The screen is similar to the one that you used when you configured or edited the form, except that it has the title of the paragraph, not the form, and the fields at the top are informational only. And that's these items up here. Just a note, all of your staff with the ability to print the form will have the ability to edit the editable section. You can control which paragraphs are editable, but any changes made in that pop-up window become part of the official printed form. Also, any information entered in the pop-up window is not saved by CU Base, but is collected only temporarily for printing the form. Specialty forms. There are two forms that we discussed earlier that behave a little differently than other miscellaneous member account forms. They can still be customized by your credit union using the preceding instructions, but the difference comes in the way they are printed. Payoff statement for your consumer loans, and payoff M statement, which is your statement of mortgage payoff. Forms are printed using the payoff option in Phone Operator. So many of you may use this now, and you may not know that you can edit that, but that is something that is editable through that MNCNFA number 5. And again, you can use that payoff option by highlighting a loan and choosing payoff in the Phone Operator. Okay. And then enter either the date you want the payoff for or the number of days out, but not both. Then press enter to display payoff information. Then use F14 payoff statement to get the printed statement. So this is going to give you your information in Phone Operator. And again, as of, and you can choose a date or you can choose the number of days, and then click payoff statement here in the bottom left. If you are requesting a payoff for 365 calc loans, the payoff form is used. If you are requesting a payoff for a 360 calc type loan, or for a 365 calc loan where you want to use the mortgage version, the payoff M form is used. This window will appear, this print window, will appear to let you choose a printer and paper tray or change the number of copies. Press enter to print. In a future release, you will have the option of replacing the member name and address with a third party's name and address for mailing purposes. Okay, so if you're sending a payoff to another institution, you could put their name and address in there for the payoff as well. To access the Miscellaneous Member Account Forms booklet, you can visit cunorthwest.com, choose Reference, then CU-based Reference Doc, and the booklet is under M, under Miscellaneous Member Account Forms. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a second and see if you guys have any questions